Hi, I'm Nessa McCasey, and I will be facilitating an online course for the Church of the Larger Fellowship. We're calling it Whispering Winds, and this video will show you just a little bit of what we will be doing in the course. We really hope you'll join us. And I am a certified poetry therapist who loves to help people through all kinds of issues with writing. Over the years, I've decided that rather than calling myself a this or a that, I practice my spirituality through writing, and it's also listening. It's listening to other people's words, other people's memories. That there's such humanity in our exchanges as we share each other with each other from this very inside heart level. It's not necessarily poetry. I usually bring a poem, but people can write whatever they want to write. They can write an essay, they can write 4 words, they can write what they want to and need to write. So I encourage people to not feel pressure. My main goal is to help people move through an issue, but I want people to also feel safe. So one of the rules that I have is that in a group, I want everybody to keep things confidential. I want us to agree that we will not share other people's stories. We will only share our own story beyond the group. We might be able to say something about someone as long as we don't reveal who that person is and much of the detail. So it's more about how you're affected by things is the right way to share beyond this group. Secondly, another factor of safety is that I really want people to be able to write whatever they need to write. So even though we do have a period of time where we'll share our writings, I want people to realize they can pass. I want them to know that they don't have to share anything of what they've written, or they can choose to share just a little snippet of it if they feel safe with that. I want, above all, everybody to feel safe to write what they need to write, because I feel like writing is my friend, writing is my confidant, writing is my therapy. So in a group, we do help each other by listening and responding to each other in positive ways. It's nice to hear good comments about something we've written, but that's also based on authentic responses. So I'm really hoping for an authentic experience with you all. And one last rule that I have is that even though I present a poem or a snippet of a poem and give you a prompt to write about, if you've got something else you need to write, there's no right and wrong. We're not grading anybody's performance. You really can write what you need to write. I'm here as a facilitator to guide people, but if you've got your own path, then you are your own muse and you're your own best guide. So the poem that I have that I brought for us to work with tonight is The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. And I've taken just some snippets from this to share with you that will give us our writing prompts out of that. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray. I hear it in the deep heart's core. But what I'd like us to do is really take that first line, I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and think about what would be your Innisfree. Where would you love to arise and go to? A place where you could have some peace. Because in our world, peace does come dropping slow. Think about where you might hear it in your deep heart's core. So if we want to take just a few minutes and do a little writing, whatever just kind of comes to you, it can be something short, it can be a few words, it can be notes. That's my greatest challenge is people will start really writing intently, and then I have to stop them because we'll run out of time if we don't go
Right.
forward.
I even had time to edit. Look.
Good. Yeah, and that's the other thing, not to give people too much time so they get critical of their writing. Okay, would anybody like to share what they've written?
I'll go? Okay.
Go.
So I will arise and go now, and go to the hills of Geneva, where I hear the roll of 1,000 different tongues, where most think of the world larger than themselves and so want to know each other more. All are welcome strangers, because we are all human, and stranger no more.
What a nice place to go to. Especially with that kind of intention. How does it feel to write that? Does that feel like it fills a longing or a goal?
I feel when I do writing, the process of language is really, intentional writing. It puts the words to my feelings, and it's a very helpful container, to be able to put those feelings someplace and so that I know in my mind what they are, and can feel them more. And it was also good, the editing that I did. I first just wrote it out, and then I edited out to take the negatives, and to, instead of saying like, not this, not that, not this, which I think is just what comes to me naturally at first, to say, so why don't I want that? Because I want this, because this is what the good experience is there. And to also shorten it, because I tend to just, and so the process of writing, I think, is to kind of take my feelings, which seem to be preoccupied with what I don't like, and then to write with intention means that I have to turn around and say, okay, yeah, I feel like I don't like different aspects. So what do I like? What do I want to create? And then in the writing, I create that.
Right.
I don't think that positivity happens unless I, intentionally work with my feelings on it.
Right. Well, and that's a very interesting insight to think about us, any of us, taking what comes out naturally and having time then to see it. Once we write it, it's visual. It's something that's concrete. It's there. And then we can look at it and assess, this is really where I want to stay. And like you said, you go back and you take out the negative things, and it takes you from that place to a better place, maybe.
Yeah. I think it takes me to, instead of, like a fish in a fishbowl, when you write it out, now I see the edge of the fishbowl. Is that the way I want my water? And then I can change the water. But before, when I'm just swimming in it, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it really does make sense, though, that because we take it out of the brain, which is all just that's swimming around this, put it on a piece of paper so you can see it, and then that's something you can work with. Yeah, well, thank you. I've not really heard that before about editing, but that's a good use of editing.
Thank you.
It's not about really changing or making something that was bad better. It's changing the water, changing the atmosphere.
Right. Yeah. To what I want to create.
Right. So you can be conscious of what you want to create.
Right. To have an intentionality. Terry, do you want to share?
I can share. So I think what was interesting for me with this process was I didn't create a piece like you did, Shauna, but I got triggered by some of the phrases that were in the poem. So not only the prompt, but a particular phrase, which led me, I think, probably more to an insight approach than to the creation of a written piece. So I really got struck by the phrase lake water lapping, because that immediately reminded me of a time when I was up at Lake Superior for a retreat, and there was 3 of us that were sitting down on the lakeshore. We had gone down, we were at the center that's way up over the hill. And so we made our way down into Duluth, down to Lake Superior. And we were sitting on all of these big rocks, and we were waiting because it was a full moon night. And so we were waiting for the full moon to rise up through the lake and make its way up. And then we were going to start this kind of meditative, shamanic type practice using rattles and just being there and hearing the lake lap up against the rocks, and to have the fire that we built, and to have the moon rising and the rattle rattling. And so those were the phrases that I just kept putting down on paper over and over again. Rattle, friends, rattle, shaking, moon, open eyes, clarity above, clarity inside, quietness. And what I realized with this writing exercise is where I go for peace is at night. It's at night in the dark and the quiet. I'm reminded of growing up out in the country where you would see the tall pines and the stars overhead and the northern lights and the moon, and you wouldn't have the noise of city traffic, like I have where I live now. So it's this quietness of night that I think tends to bring me a little peace. I get very stimulated by things. I'm a very sensory person. I get lots and lots of input all day long. And so night is that time, that kind of helps me process it and quiet and get a little peace. So that's where I went with this poem.
It's so nice to think about, and it's kind of impressive to think about a poem written so long ago, then popping up and taking you to a memory of yours. That, where he's living in Ireland, he's seeing that kind of lake sound, hearing it, responding to it. It was so important to him to write this poem about that place that he loved. And then now you're talking about this other place that obviously is a place you love, because the memory just came back in such full force.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nessa, so much for sharing this. I hope that this course will help people deepen their spiritual practices and also see how writing can be used as a tool for deepening your thoughts and connections with your own spirit. Whether you're a writer or not, this practice can really be a powerful tool to tap into that which is deep, deep inside. We hope you'll register for our course.